you think you're playing football? Do you think you're playing football? Do you think you're playing football? You are showing me nothing.
Fires, Mike Sims, Walker, knocked down.
Oh my God! Davis is going running all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game.
In trouble, he's going to be sacked. No, gets away. He runs, gets away again, goes to the 40, gets away again.
Jackson takes it himself. Look at him turn back and forth. Oh! He broke his ankles.
I have never seen this before in my life.
Still looking, firing, near corner. It's caught.
Denver! Unbelievable!
And welcome to the Fourth Down Fiasco.
Hello and welcome to the Fourth Down Fiasco, your go-to podcast for an in-depth exploration of all things football. Here we want to build a community of people who love ball because we jokingly call ourselves experts and instead we are complete dumbasses. I'm the Wednesday Whiskey Wonder Kid. Yes, I have to take a sip to that real quick. Jordan Pryor. And with me are the rising stars of the podcast industry, the SodaStream sponsor boy, Danny Weber, and the payroll panicker, Tanner Vinsky. Say hello to the people, y'all.
Hola.
Hey.
As always, we ask that you rate us 5 stars on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, share it with your friends, and follow us on social media. We are at @4thdown_pod on Twitter and at Fourth Down Fiasco on TikTok and Instagram. So, the rundown of today's pod goes like this. We dive into more off-season interviews with our Fanbase Fiasco segment, but first, we're going to have a little bit of fun with the draft to dive into. Tanner, would you care to explain the premise?
Yeah, so we're going to be acting as GMs, essentially. We're going to say that we're GM of a team, brand new franchise, and we're just picking 5 quarterbacks that we want to build our franchise around. So we're each going to go in turns. We're going to pick a guy that we would want for the next 15 to 20 years.
And just to clarify, this is not supposed to be all time, correct? This is current quarterbacks?
Yeah, this is going to be current guys. So we'll get a couple of scrubs there at the bottom, I think, which will be fun.
That'll be a lot more fun.
Can he pick a baby?
Well, cool.
If
It
we were
is
going
fourth
top
down.
15, maybe.
It is golly. It's fourth down and goal to go. Are we gonna win, fellas?
Not if I have Kenny Pickett as my QB. Well, it depends how good my defense is, actually.
I guess. Yeah,
No,
you can win
if
with a
Kenny
good
Pickett's your
defense.
quarterback, you're not winning shit. I'm sorry.
What if you
All
have,
right.
what if you have Christian McCaffrey? Come on, don't knock him on that one.
I mean, we only lost it by like 10 to the Bills with Kenny Pickett. I guess that was Mason, actually. Fuck. Never mind. All right, should we go? Should we go in order of how that looks? So I go first, Jordan, you go second, Danny, you go third.
We're all
Yes,
shifting down
yeah.
one. Is that what it ended up being?
That's how it looks
We're
on
all
my
shifting
screen.
down one. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, and then we'll do a snake draft, right?
Correct.
Yes, as always.
Perfect. All right. Shockingly, as a 101, I'll take Patrick Mahomes. Right.
Wow, no
I
surprise
know, I
there.
System QB.
Andy Reid merchant.
Give him without. Who's
Um,
your head coach? Don't have Andy Reid.
We're not drafting head coaches. All right. We're taking QBs only. We've talked about this a million times in the pod. I mean, it's Patrick Mahomes, a bit of a crater, everybody else. And it's going to probably remain that way. I definitely think there's people who can start bridging that gap a little bit. But, I mean, it was kind of like when we watched Tom Brady. You know, there was Tom Brady, everybody else. And you would have times where, like, Drew Brees would slowly crawl up. You would see times where Peyton Manning would crawl up. You had the couple, Aaron Rodgers. You had the 3 seasons of Matt Ryan where I was like, oh, shit, maybe Matt Ryan could do it, you know. And then that ended in heartbreak. But it's the same with Patrick Mahomes. And I think we're going to see the same thing. We've been talking about it with Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and no one's – I mean, we even had the conversation with Jalen Hurts last year, you know. Look how quickly that fell apart. So
seriously.
It's Patrick Mahomes. If you're gonna build around one QB, that's who you want it to be. So
Yeah. And he's still relatively young too. So I mean, you would definitely still, I don't know about 15 years, but you definitely at least get another decade out of him for sure.
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
So with the number 2 pick, I'm going to get a little spicy here because, you prompted 15 to 20 years. If I'm a GM and I want someone that I know, as long as I keep him protected, there will be longevity because of the age. I'm going CJ Stroud for number 2. And maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid right now. Maybe I'm feeling a little too hot and heavy after, what he did in the playoffs as a rookie. But I think he's got it. I think he's got that dog in him. I think that he'll be one of those quarterbacks that, like you mentioned, Tanner, where he'll push the envelope. He'll never be better than Patrick Mahomes. Until Patrick Mahomes retires, there will not be anyone as good as Patrick Mahomes. But I think that he's one of those guys that can have a stretch like a Peyton Manning or a Drew Brees, where it's like you get those 3-4 years where it's like, ooh, he might be the best quarterback in the league because he's just a specimen. Honestly, like he's big, he's strong, he's got good athletic ability, he's got a rocket for an arm. He makes, for the most part, good decisions, especially for a rookie, which is that's huge. And this past season we saw him at what's probably going to be his worst. He might maybe get the sophomore slump, but for the most part, it's only up from here. So I think if I want to ride with somebody for 15 years, it's a gamble. I know we might come back 2-3 years from now, and this might be the dumbest pick I could have taken. But for now,
Jalen Hurts next year.
He could. I don't know. But for right now, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, and that Kool-Aid is especially tasty. So we're going to go with CJ Stroud at number 2. And we already know who Danny's picking at 3.
Yeah. Well, actually, I was going to go CJ Stroud at 3.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm back to back, so my 4th pick would have been who you're going to guess. So yeah, since my first overall pick was taken, I'll go with my 2nd round pick. And when healthy, are we saying these quarterbacks are healthy?
Yeah.
Can we establish?
Well,
that?
yeah. Well,
fully healthy.
No, you have to take Jake Browning.
Okay. Jake Browning.
Hey, that's still better than like Marcus Mariota. So
that's true. But no, give me Burrow healthy. When he's healthy, he's not Patrick Mahomes, but he is competing with Patrick Mahomes, and we've seen him go toe to toe with Patrick Mahomes many times.
He's another one of those guys that will have a stretch of 2 to 3 years where you're like, Burrow might be the best quarterback in the NFL.
When he's healthy, he is fabulous.
You do question it. Yeah.
But there is the asterisk of healthy.
Yeah. That's the hard part.
So it's like I just wish we'd see more healthy Burrow. But it is what it is.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. For my 2nd pick, there's a lot of question marks on quarterbacks currently in the NFL. But I'm going to go. He's big. He's like 6'5" with cleats, something like that. I think he's like 220. Give me Trevor Lawrence. Put him on a good team and he can shine.
Woo! I thought my CJ Stroud take was spicy. Jesus Christ. That is like
overall for a reason.
That is like cayenne pepper spicy. Whew. I'm surprised. I mean, you don't eat spice. I'm surprised you're not sweating right now, Danny. God damn.
I eat a little spice.
No,
Jordan, hey, I'm just saying, Jordan and Sully were the only one eating my salsa.
I ate your salsa.
You did actually.
I was the only one. I was the only one devouring the salsa.
Yeah.
You're also devouring that Skyline dip.
Dude, I was hungry. I didn't eat beforehand. I can still taste the cinnamon. The cinnamon aftertaste was definitely a little odd. But
Yeah, it's a little strange. It takes some time getting used to.
Yeah, the initial taste, I was like, oh, that's bomb, and then I was like,
what is that? What is that on the back?
I was like, why does it taste like Snickerdoodle? You know?
Why is it spicy?
Why is it spicy?
All right.
Midwest is weird, man.
So why Trevor? Baby. Why Trevor? I gotta know.
I mean, he hasn't had the best team. His rookie year was just squashed by that Urban Meyer experience in Jacksonville. I don't know what you even call that, his rookie year. But he's a big dude, huge dude, has an arm. He can move through the pocket. And I think if you put him on the right team, he can be a really good quarterback. he's still relatively young. He's the same age as like the Burrow and Mahomes and Allen quarterbacks. And
Wait, he's actually young as shit. I just looked up. He's 24.
yeah,
Oh,
he's
wow.
young.
That's
He
crazy.
came in.
He's younger
He
than
came
us.
in the league at 21.
That can always humble you so quickly whenever you're like,
know,
oh
right?
yeah, the guys that I'm talking about on this podcast are 3-4 years younger than me. Cool, great.
We're the old heads now.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my reasoning. You'll get a long time out of him. Big dude.
I don't know. I feel like he's one of those Justin Herbert types where you see the flashes and it's exciting and it's sexy. Like he has a very sexy style of play with the big plays and the deep balls. And I am not really helping myself out right now, but you get what I'm saying whenever it doesn't sound so individualized,
What?
you know, but
Do you not like Justin Herbert?
No.
Huh.
Tanner, are you going to talk trash on him when I said the same stuff?
No, I was waiting for him to finish because I completely disagree. I mean when we were talking about best QBs from division a couple of weeks ago, I said Trevor Lawrence over CJ Stroud. Like, which again, I for a lot of people that's crazy, but Trevor Lawrence has the physical attributes that no other QB in the league does. I mean, he's 6'6", he's around like 250, I think. Like, he's a big guy, and I mean, he has.
You are describing Justin Herbert right now. They are the same guy. They are variants.
And I'm gonna tell you, I like Justin Herbert more than I like Trevor Lawrence because Justin Herbert has done more than Trevor Lawrence has. But they're both just uber athletic quarterbacks. They have the best arms in the league, and
luscious hair,
and they have great hair.
Yes, the Pantene commercials would be crazy. Honestly, as a team owner, I would choose one of those guys just for the endorsements.
Right.
Give me the Head and Shoulders commercials.
Yeah.
Like we had with
L'Oreal, baby. L'Oreal would shell out some cash.
All right, let's get back on track, Jordan. Who are you taking to? Who are you taking to? We have only gone through one round.
Y'all are gonna
arguing with each
absolutely
other.
hate me. I gotta go with my boy Dak Prescott. I'm sorry.
He's like pushing 70.
Bro, he's 31. Calm down. I mean, it's either I do that or I start going into guys like Kyler Murray. Actually, Kyler Murray's not even that young because him and I are the same age. I'm trying to. I would have to go straight to like Jordan Love would probably be the next like young, exciting dude. But Dak Prescott, simply just being a pocket passing quarterback, was the best quarterback in the league last year. I'm sorry, you can't convince me otherwise. Regular season.
I'm not saying you aren't. I'm not saying you're wrong.
Tanner is fuming right now.
No, I just feel like we're gonna get so much flack, dude. Like this is.
Oh yeah, dude. I hope somebody talks shit about it. I'll say it with my chest. Dak Prescott.
The Trevor Lawrence and Dak Prescott before like Herbert, Lamar.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I'm going on
Justin
age.
Herbert
okay?
does not move
I'm
me.
going on age.
No, but like
Lamar, I would understand if Lamar would probably be my next pick if I had one.
Yeah.
But yeah, Justin Herbert does not move me. I'm sorry. At me on Twitter.
No,
it's at JPry the sports guy. At me on Twitter. Let's talk about Herbo.
Yeah, you want to talk trash? Come on, at us, bro.
Yeah, at me, bro. Tanner, who do you have next before we get into more trouble?
before we go further into it, I will say I do like Dak. Like Dak gets a lot of flame for no reason. Dak is good, all right, but I wouldn't have taken Dak there. So we'll agree to disagree. So since we're already talking about Herbert, I'm just gonna go Herbert. And again, we can kind of bring up the same things we brought with Lawrence, the physical tools, the way he throws the football. I mean, the way he just processes the field as well. He can be turnover prone at times when things are going well, but I mean, the Chargers are just a shit show. So I really don't pin a lot of blame on Herbert a lot of the times, which maybe he gets away with more than he probably should. I feel like a lot of times he's really good at quarterbacks. Maybe he should be a little bit more responsible for the team situations they're in. But I mean, also the Chargers are terrible. So I don't really pin a lot of that on Herbert. So
I feel like Lawrence and Herbert are in a very similar situation.
Yeah, I agree as well. Well, their teams aren't just downright awful, but they're like middling.
Yeah,
they're
they're not bad. They're not good.
Yep. And then, so we don't continue to disrespect them, I'll go Lamar after this. And the thing is Lamar is, we're talking about these athletes. I mean, Lamar is the most athletic quarterback in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And,
I mean, the dynamic.
And there's a gap.
There's gap.
There's a
huge
massive
gap.
Yeah.
And yes, maybe there's concerns about the way he passes the football, but I mean, the strides he's made in passing over the last 2 years since Greg Roman has left have been massive.
That's
so
true.
I think he can process the game well enough, and I think that he can do enough to throw the ball that you can really rely on winning the game with his legs, and that passing game is not going to be a hindrance to you. It's just an added benefit. And really, I mean, if I'm a GM, I'd freaking give him a number 1 receiver instead of Save Flowers, right? Like,
Seriously.
That's fair.
he's never really had a number
it's
one.
It's not even Zay Flowers' fault. They kind of inserted him in there, and he could be a Pro Bowl slot guy if you use him right. But yeah,
you can't rely on him being your number 1 outside guy.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if you've given Lamar Jackson like a Justin Jefferson or a Jamar
Stephon
Chase.
Diggs, a Jamar Chase.
I wouldn't even want to know.
Yeah, like, it would be terrifying.
Disgusting. Yeah.
Yep. But luckily, the Ravens had never given him that, so we can
That's true.
thank them for that. So
I was hoping that this guy would be off of the board so I wouldn't have to pick him because I'm such a hater. But I mean,
wait,
there's
Tanner and I talked about this. We're like, what if we just don't pick this guy?
I don't want to have to. Oh, I'm so mad.
I mean,
I was really hoping
make,
Tanner was going to do it.
we can make a gentleman's agreement. He can just go undrafted.
Oh man, I'm going to pick the anti-mascot of this pod and go with Josh Allen. And here's my thing. I do think that Josh Allen is actually a talented quarterback. I know we give him a lot of shit on this pod, and it's because he gets so overhyped. He gets put into that Mahomes conversation. There's a lot of people in this league that think it's Mahomes, Josh Allen, and then the large gap. And I think the large gap is before Josh Allen gets in there.
Yeah.
But I do think that if you gave him a freaking running game, if you gave him a competent running, if you gave him Derrick Henry, oh my God, that would
they had a pretty
disgusting.
solid run game this year.
They had a solid run game because he has so much gravity as a player that you're afraid of him doing shit. That's the only reason why their run game was of any usage was just, well, if we don't commit to this right now, Josh is going to burn us,
I think James Cook had a pretty solid year.
I had him in one of my fantasy leagues. I was not impressed.
I loved him in fantasy this year.
He was one of those guys that if you guess the right game for him to go off, he goes off. But to win a Super Bowl, again, unless you're Pat Mahomes, you need a running back who is an absolute animal. And the running game has been time and time again proven to be so. The running game has been proven time and time again to be so important for non-Patrick Mahomes quarterbacks, and because it takes so much pressure off. And I think that Josh Allen would have significantly less interceptions if he was like, you know what, I can rely on other players other than myself to do something crazy right now. And so, I'll go with Patrick. I'll go Josh Allen for my pick. I'll go with Josh Allen for my pick. That's fine.
Fair.
Sorry, we disrespect him enough. We picked him at 8.
Yeah. We can't do. I know we said gentleman's agreement. We've got to put him in the top 10, or else this pod has no credibility whatsoever.
You could have put him at 11 because I wasn't taking him.
That's so funny.
Who do you have then for your next pick, Danny?
In the right system, this quarterback, and we've seen him play really well. He's won a lot of games. He went to the Super Bowl this year.
Oh, I know. I was about to say, are you gonna go Brock Purdy?
Brock Purdy.
Really over Tua?
Tua's my next pick. I was just.
Okay.
If I have a snake
Still.
draft, it doesn't matter which one. Fine. Tua will go second or third round. I'll take Tua.
And then Brock. Okay, that makes me feel better.
My next two picks were Tua and Brock. Tua is 25. Yeah, 25. Brock's 24. Both have shown that they can win games. Tua not so much in crunch time, but yeah, I like the offense Tua has. Just the play, like if you can get the play calling of Mike Daniel with Tua and help his decision making in bigger games, that he could. I feel like he could be a pretty solid quarterback.
Oh yeah. I mean, you don't get subbed into a national championship game and win it and be a scrub. You know, like there is potential for him to be a damn good quarterback.
Yeah, and then Brock Purdy. Yeah, we have the system QB. He has one of the best teams surrounding him, but you still need to be able to throw the ball and win games, and he has showed that. He threw for 4,200 yards this year, 31 touchdowns, 11 picks, almost 10 yards per attempt. Like he's not just checking it down. But how many of those are those little Deebo Samuel?
Yeah, I was gonna say how many of those are check downs that then turn into bigger yardage plays. Yeah,
but even almost a 70% completion percentage, like that's has to be one of the highest.
And I mean, you know, something that I do applaud him on is he normally makes the right decision. You know, most of the time when you watch him play, there's absolutely nothing spectacular about his game, if we're being completely honest.
No,
but if you have the right personnel, though, you can win with him because he's not one of those guys. He doesn't give a shit if he has 5 touchdowns and 500 yards and is putting up fantasy points. He's not one of those guys. There are definitely quarterbacks like that in this league. He's one of those guys. Hey, I may only throw for 125 yards. And no touchdowns. But if I don't throw any picks, we're going to win this game. And you know what? If you build a team the right way, you can win like that.
Yeah.
So, what is that back to me then? Because you did Brock and Tua, right?
Brock and Tua.
Cool. Question for the game master, real quick, for Tanner. Because you had said starting a franchise within 10 to 15 years. If we pick an older player, can we say like we restart his clock? Is that allowed, or should I just go younger?
No, I mean, you could pick him if you're like, oh, I'll win a Super Bowl with him in the next 2 to 3 years.
Okay,
right?
no, I'm not gonna do that then. Okay,
you go Matthew Stafford or something.
Actually, I was gonna go Joe Flacco, but
whoa, why?
Hey, brother, I am a Flacco flocker, you know. Hey, he's got a Super Bowl ring. Okay, granted, so
might as well go Desmond Ritter at that point, or Tommy DeVito.
Okay, that is a piss poor comparison. My boy Flacco still has some dog in him. Okay,
that's true. That's true.
Instead, I guess since we're gonna go younger here. We're going to go with the mascot of the podcast now, since I had to pick the anti-hero of the podcast. We're going to go with Baker fucking Mayfield.
There we go.
Hey, listen, man, all I'm saying is he had a damn good year last year. I mean, 28 touchdowns to only 10 picks. You know, he did have a bit of a fumbling issue, 8 fumbles on the season, but over 4,000 yards passing. And I've just always loved Baker, bro. He's just such a dick. And if I have a team, and because I mean we're getting to the point now where a lot of these guys probably aren't quarterbacks that you would win a Super Bowl with. You potentially could with Baker with the right stuff, but you know it's getting harder later in these drafts to get the right guy. At least I know I would make a shit ton of money because of Baker. I would have so many jersey sales, TV deals, commercials and shit. You best believe I would market the shit out of the team.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield in Dallas, bro, primetime TV every game. that might be. He would be the shorter Tony Romo. It'd be incredible.
That's true.
There you go. All right, so mine will be wrapped up here. So next one I'm gonna go with is I'm kind of surprised he actually made it here because I think I would have picked him over the last three guys you went with, or not the last three guys specifically Jordan went with, but like last three picks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Jordan Love, and
I thought about that a lot.
And the thing is I know Jordan Love's a
Had
little bit
qualms.
older, right? What is he, 26, 27, somewhere in that range?
27, I think. Yeah.
He's with
Yeah.
the
He'll be
majority of
27
the
this upcoming
quarterbacks.
season.
But
He's-
I mean, he's effectively a rookie. He probably will play for another 10 to 15 years, and I think he's got it. You know, at the beginning of the year, I didn't think Jordan Love would be a franchise guy. I thought he was like, oh, this is like a fringe starter, kind of high-end backup type guy. He'll bounce around the league. He'll have a good career. And then he kind of exploded, and he was playing the game really efficiently. I mean, sometimes his decision-making isn't the best, but I think, you know, he has the physical attributes. I think he processes the game well, and I think he's pretty accurate. So in terms of people who don't have a whole lot of play time, I mean, I think Jordan Love could easily be a franchise quarterback for a team.
I agree.
Yeah. So again, that's why he's down all the way here. I want to take him over a lot of the guys we already had, but I definitely would feel pretty confident with him becoming the franchise quarterback for Green Bay. And I think if you're starting a new franchise, I think he could also be a franchise guy.
Yeah. After what happened, like with Jalen Hurts and stuff, like it's hard, like seeing one
hard to
good
predict
year.
Who's
Yeah.
going to have that, you know?
Yeah. It's like Jalen Hurts looked amazing last year, and then their whole team fell apart.
And then we found out he was a system quarterback and that, you know, a 1 yard tush push doesn't equate to actual wins.
An AJ Brown merchant.
Yep.
It felt good to say that.
Yeah.
You finally talk your shit.
Yeah. Hey, we went to Cancun at the same time as them. That's all that
Yeah,
matters.
that's all that matters. Yep. So, and I think for my last pick, it would be interesting to go Jalen Hurts because, again, just because he had a bad year doesn't mean that he couldn't rebound, right? But I'm actually not going to go with Jalen Hurts
Oh,
because
good.
I don't really, again, with how bad last year was, I don't really know if he will rebound. I mean, I think there's a good chance he will, but I don't feel super confident about it. So I'll take the younger guy who I think has a little bit more upside. And we didn't get to see him play very much this year, but when he did, I mean, he looked pretty damn good. And that would be Anthony Richardson. Again, I think
What about Richardson?
Yeah, I forgot about
we haven't
that
seen
one
a
too.
whole lot of Richardson, but he's really young, and
There are
I mean,
flashes.
his build and the way he plays, I mean, he could be the next Cam Newton.
Yeah, young Cam Newton.
Yep. So
That's fair.
I'm gonna go with that upside. I mean, that's probably the one that would easily blow up in someone's face because he could have injury problems. He could never develop well. But I think in terms of upside, I think he's got more upside than someone like a Jordan Love or even like a Tua or a Brock Purdy, you know?
Yeah, if you take injuries out of it, like for all quarterbacks, like he looks good in the 4 weeks that we saw.
Yeah.
So I do want to, for those who have made it this far along in our draft, I do want to just echo the fact that, yes, we understand that guys like Stafford and Goff and a couple of other, you know, Kirk Cousins, like they're all still on the board. But with Tanner mentioning like starting a franchise and going 10 to 15 to, you know, even 20 if you can push it with the right guys years out, that's why we're avoiding them. So I'm still not going to pick any of those guys. God, I'm gonna get so much shit for this, but I'm gonna go Justin Fields.
Oh, damn it.
Oh, okay. I don't feel quite as bad about my pick now. Okay. So here's the thing. With earlier, we had mentioned that, like, as far as athleticism goes amongst quarterbacks, it is Lamar Jackson, giant gap, everyone else. Justin Fields would be the next closest in that. And I think that it would probably go Lamar, gap, Justin Fields, bigger gap, everyone else. And I think that if you make an offense where it's not dependent on the pass, it would have to be some crazy. You would have to have just a brilliant offensive coordinator. But I think that there's just so much athletic potential there that if you were to just have a bunch of freak show athletes, you give him a CMC and a Debo Samuels, guys that can just be weapons, and you can just interchange all of them. Dog, I could be in there like a mad scientist winning a Super Bowl with Justin Fields.
Put him on the Falcons with the athleticism they have on their offense.
Oh yeah, with Bijan and
Algier and
it would be
Kyle
disgusting.
Pitts, Drake London.
And if you can actually bring in a competent quarterback coach, I mean, something that people don't talk a lot about was with Dak's career is the reason why he made such a jump from his first 2 seasons to those third and fourth seasons was because he got John Kitna as his quarterbacks coach. And
John Kitna, baby.
Yeah, shout out to the boy. Legend. Hey, yeah, just so everybody knows, John Kitna does have the longest rushing touchdown for a quarterback in Cowboys history, which is crazy. Yeah. and he got that at 39 years old. It was a dumb play. I remember that.
Yeah.
But
he was one of the first quarterbacks I saw play for the Bengals.
Oh yeah, we do have that connection. But Kitna completely changed Dak's throwing form for the better, and I think that Justin Fields would need that. He would need the same type of progression that a Lamar has had, as a quarterback. But I think that it's there. I think that you can teach him to be a system thrower, because I think Lamar, while he's not the greatest throwing quarterback, he's a system thrower with freakish athletic ability. So then you just never know as a defender what's going to happen with him, because he could throw a 15-yard nice little pass to somebody, or he could go rush for 65 yards and touchdown. And Justin Fields has that exact same makeup as a human being. So yeah, I think for the last pick in my draft, at least, I feel like it's not bad to take a flyer out on Justin Fields.
Not at all. I wish, going off what how you said how quarterback defenses don't know what to expect with Lamar and Justin Fields. I wish NFL OCs would adapt Navy's playbook and run a triple option, but then throw in the a 4 option and have a pass afterwards. You can hand it to the running back, either running back, him run it, or just flip it downfield. Obviously, that you'd have to practice that a lot with linemen because you don't want an ineligible man downfield. But
yeah, I would spam the shit out of that with Justin Fields.
It would there's a couple quarterbacks that could just run that all over the field. But with my last pick, do you know how old Jared Goff is?
31, isn't he? He was drafted the same year as Dak.
He's a year younger than Dak and a year older than Patrick Mahomes.
So he's 30.
He's
29 or 30.
He's 29. So my last pick, I am going Jared Goff.
I didn't know he was that young. I would have gone that route then. Damn.
He's been in the league for 8 years, but he's only 29. I think you could get 10 years out of him if you keep him healthy. Yeah.
I agree.
So there's not many other quarterbacks I would pick unless I wanted to push, go what Tanner was saying. If you could win a Super Bowl in 2 or 3 years, give me Stafford. But if I'm looking long term, there's not many quarterbacks I would pick. I could take.
Go for it.
There's Geno Smith is old, Russell Wilson's old, Derek Carr is old. You could have Kyler Murray, but if that's the case, I'm taking Jared Goff over Kyler Murray, Sam Howell. The only one we didn't get to see him play much at all, and this would be a huge gamble, would be Will Levis. He looked good for the couple games he played. He had some off stuff, but he looked good.
For me, it was between Levis and Richardson for that last pick, and I think I liked a little bit more from what I saw from Richardson than I did from Levis. So that's why I went that route. But I think Levis isn't too far behind, honestly.
But I think someone we all kind of forgot about just because he got put in, I think, what has to be the worst situation in NFL is Bryce Young. We saw absolutely nothing from him this year because he had nothing. Like he couldn't do anything.
He especially, like, their offensive roster is egregious. They should be tried for crimes against humanity. The owner of the Panthers I shouldn't say they should be hung because that sounds a little too aggressive, but essentially their owner is a terrorist. You cannot convince me otherwise.
He came in with a Super Bowl winning team, and now he's imploded the entire organization.
Yeah, it's been brutal.
Their offensive line is garbage. Now that they don't have CMC, their run game is garbage. They have no wide receivers. It's all garbage.
Their quarterback is a good quarterback. Like, he's not bad. He was drafted number 1 for a reason.
Yeah, but it's one of those things.
He was the consensus number 1. Like,
Stroud, Stroud could have went 1, but
but we didn't see the Stroud going number 1 until Stroud started popping off. Then all of a sudden GMs were like, I had Stroud at the top of my big board. It's like that. It's like after Tom Brady started popping off, people were like, oh, well, I had a third round grade on Tom Brady, but I didn't want to pick him. Well, what do you mean? If you had a third round grade on him, why didn't you take him? Yeah. It's kind of like the same thing with
if you think that there's a franchise quarterback in the third round, choose him. What's the risk?
So, I mean, I don't put a lot of weight on those people saying Stroud would have gone 1 because it really did feel like during the draft process, like it was consensus Bryce Young's going number 1 overall. And we're going to have some revisionist history of GM saying, oh, I'm actually smarter than everybody else. I had Stroud over him. You probably didn't,
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, cool. Thanks everyone for hanging out with us for that. We're gonna kick it to commercial break real quick, and then we do have some off-season interviews. So stay tuned for some fan base fiasco stuff. We'll be right back.
Let us know who was right, who was wrong.
Oh, definitely that. You can add us on Twitter.
Yeah.
You're the proud owner of a business, and you've got it all: the hustle, the bustle, and the occasional office kitchen mishap that turns into an alarm-triggering emergency.
Whoa!
But fear not. Western States Fire Protection is here to turn your workplace into a disaster-free zone. Our in-house team handles everything from fire sprinklers to alarms, monitoring, inspections, extinguishers, and more. Visit WSFP.com to request a quote.
Are you looking for a podcast to advertise your business? Well, you're in luck. Here at the Fourth Down Fiasco, we're looking for show sponsors. Whether you want to be a platinum sponsor and be mentioned at the beginning and end of every episode, or you just want a simple 30 or 60-second ad, we got you covered. If you're interested in having a spot on our show, you can reach us at fourthdownfiasco@gmail.com. That's fourthdownfiasco@gmail.com. We are excited to hear from you and even more excited to have you on the show. Join the Fiasco family now.
Hey, tell the truth, how you settle in? Your team is veterans, so how you cope with where you sit this season? Better spin, better rhetoric, but tell us greatest teams have been. I ask the question of you now to see the thoughts you spin. Fan-based fiasco, don't think that I'm irrational. My team better than your team, and that's just facts, bro. We've been examples, don't think this year don't mean much. This legacy you talking about, let me tell you about my team, son.
And welcome back to the Fan Base Fiasco. So excited to have y'all here today. If you liked that song, that is actually from friend of the pod, Cam Hayden. You can download his music on Apple Music or Spotify, or you can also get his book on Amazon. It's called Working on the Process. It's pretty solid. It's got a lot of poetry in it. But yeah, so with us today is actually a old friend of mine from high school, Riley Christiansen, who is going to be our LA Rams correspondent. And Riley and I, fun fact, actually used to do a sports show every Friday for our high school broadcast class. So she knows a thing or two about ball. So you want to say hello to the people for us, Riley?
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. I'm super excited to be here. And if I'm being honest, I don't think I've done anything like this since Jordan and I's sports show in high school. So bear with me if I'm a little rusty.
Hey, that's okay. Maybe we can get the teleprompter up for you. You know, you remember having to read off that thing? That was awful. Oh, man. Well, Danny, do you want to kick us off with our first question?
Yep. So I'll ask the bullshit question here. How How do you feel about Matthew Stafford just walking away during the Super Bowl parade when the camera woman fell off the stage?
Ooh, man, starting off hot. Yeah, that was super tough. I mean, it's obviously a lot going on. There's alcohol involved. It doesn't
Yeah.
excuse any of it, but it's just a really tough scenario, and it was a really sad situation. And I'm glad they were like helpful after, but it doesn't really make up for everything in the moment. So
No, yeah, she's okay though. So like, she got a payday. It's fine.
Yeah, she's all good, and I believe she actually like got to meet them, the Staffords afterwards.
Yeah.
So it'll all be okay. But I was telling Danny before before you jumped on that I bet there was probably a lot of tequila in that water bottle.
yes, I would agree with you there, Jordan.
He did not know where he was at the moment.
No, he was on a different planet that day. He was not in Los Angeles. But okay, going into much easier questions now, less of the BS ones. You know, we love to find out about our fans, how you became fans of your team. So we'll start there. How did you become a fan of the Rams?
Awesome. Well, it actually precedes me a little bit. So I was born into the Rams fandom, and it all started with my dad. So he grew up in Oregon, and this was before the Seahawks existed. And he was actually originally a Raiders fan, but after the Immaculate Reception, he needed a new team. As I'm sure you can imagine why. So I think he was like 7 or 8 at the time, and he had written letters to all the other West Coast teams and just introduced himself, said, "Hey, I'd love to be a fan of your team. Will you accept me?" And the Rams actually responded. So
wow.
Yeah, they got a lifelong fan out of him, and I really grew up on the Rams, got to go to lots of games when they were playing here in Dallas, and when I lived in New Mexico, we'd travel out to Phoenix to watch them play the Cardinals. But now my parents have season tickets. They're back in LA. We get to play at beautiful SoFi Stadium and had a really exciting run in 2021. So definitely grateful to be part of this fandom, even though we've had some dark times.
He's a Bengals fan, so that was a painful day for Danny.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know if you're gonna like all my answers then, Danny.
No, yeah, I've already come to terms with it. It's okay.
Hey, it was a good run, Daniel.
If I turn my camera off, just don't expect anything.
You guys will be back there. So much talent.
No,
on the Bengals.
Yeah, if we hear Danny crying in the background, it's okay. We can mute his mic. So then, obviously, I mean, I know that we had also sent you a question over about, were you a fan before they had moved to LA? So sounds to me, like entire life you've been a Rams fan, which I do remember you being a Rams fan in high school. So, that the maths, I don't think you're lying to us on the pod. So,
and it's funny because when they were just announced that they were leaving St. Louis, I had just gotten to Mizzou. So I was really excited to be close to the Rams and get to go to more games, but we really just missed each other. But that's okay. Love going out to LA for the games. It's quite a great atmosphere up there. So it all worked out, but I do feel for the people of St. Louis. It would suck to lose your team. So
yeah. There's still I went to St. Louis semi recently, and they're still kind of bitter up there about it. So it comes out frequently in conversation if you talk to them.
Luckily, they're all bandwagon Chiefs fans now, so they're having other success that they can celebrate, but they'll let you know.
Yeah. Would you rather them stayed in St. Louis, or are you happy they moved to LA?
I'm very happy they moved to LA. I think it was just a great step. It really brought new life into the organization and the franchise, and great results have followed. So I think it was a great move.
Yeah,
it's fair. So what do you this is a multifaceted question here. Do you think that the Rams can overtake the Cowboys as the most popular team in Los Angeles?
Yes, it's a tough question. I mean, when you look at the landscape of the different fan bases in LA, you got a lot of moving pieces, right? Lots of teams in California. What I am proud about for the Rams is I do feel like we have a hold on the fan base versus the Chargers head to head. So I think that's a big win. But, a lot of people live in LA that grew up in San Francisco, and they're going to continue to be Niner fans, but, go to games at SoFi where they can. And same thing with Raider fans that either grew up in the Bay Area and moved to LA, or were fans when the Raiders were in LA. So I think it's just going to be a mix of teams, some of those California-based teams. Of course, there's also Cowboy fans everywhere. But what I'm
Well, I'm
excited
just
to
thinking about Oxnard and preseason and all
yeah,
that
yeah,
stuff. So, but
absolutely. And I think what's going to be interesting is to look at like the younger NFL fans that are just getting into it and, see what their team is. Like maybe there's some fans out there that were converted. I mean, my dad was a Raiders fan turned Rams fan, so different circumstances there, but maybe we can do that with some Niner fans or Raider fans that are excited about Cooper Kupp and some of our guys.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah, y'all definitely have some good talent on that team for sure.
About players, who was your favorite player to watch growing up and throughout your lifetime?
Well, it's kind of an emotional one because he just retired, but it has to be Aaron Donald, wearing my Donald jersey today. But he's just truly been the heartbeat of the team for the last 10 years. And
Oh yeah.
his career highlights have been amazing. Like so many awesome things that he did. I mean, defensive rookie of the year, defensive player of the year back to back, highest paid non-QB in the NFL, sack records, and like ultimately, helping the Rams get that Super Bowl ring. So, I think he's going to go down as one of the best players, not only in Rams history, but in NFL history, and like not
most
just
definitely.
for defense. So it's
yeah.
all exciting. And he's got to be my fave.
He was generational.
Oh, for sure.
I don't know the next time we'll see an Aaron Donald.
And it's just so difficult because it feels like he was still just in his prime, truly, and that's something that's so incredible that he's about to turn 33 and playing the position that he is and being like, oh no, dude, Aaron Donald he's still arguably the best, pass rusher in the league, and I just absolute monster out on the field. But I mean, I don't blame him. He's made his money. And at this point, I think a lot of these guys are really starting to value their health. We saw that with Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck made all of his money and he was like, hey, look, I've been having health issues. I want to be able to, play with my kids and, things like that. So I don't necessarily blame him, but I bet that's probably hard being a Rams fan and hearing that news whenever it first broke.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just felt very sudden. Like I would have thought to have one more year, and then now it's kind of puts a timetable on like McVay and how much longer he'll coach before he goes and takes over as like a commentator, and same for older guys like Stafford. So it'll be interesting to see what's next for the team and where we go from here.
Yeah, it seemed like you guys were kind of like rebuilding for another run too. Like I feel like if he stayed one more year, but is his retirement the worst case scenario for your defense?
I think he was a player that really made everybody else around him better. So I'm hoping that like his legacy will continue to be felt. And like I said, he really is like the heartbeat of the team and especially the defense, but you really don't replace Aaron Donald. And when you think about, offensive lines, like they'd have two guys on him just to try to keep him contained, and that would create opportunities for other people to make big defensive plays. And like, what's that going to look like now? So we'll really need another good interior player to pair with them.
No, yeah, I'll be curious what your defensive line stats will look like next year.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. But about past season, let's not skip ahead to next year. How would you grade last season, A through F?
Yeah, I would give us a strong B+. I think back like 2021, year of high highs, 2022, year of low lows. So having that historically bad Super Bowl hangover and really low expectations going into the year, we lost a lot of talent, we had injuries, but we made a big impact and our young guys really stepped up. So Puka was amazing, one of the best storylines of the year. Kyron Williams was great and really stepped up as well. Kobe Turner made a name for himself. So making a playoff run and facing the Lions for wildcard weekend was a really cool way to end the season. Of course, I wish the outcome of that game was different and we would have had more runway, but my expectations were exceeded and I'll give us a B+.
I think that's one of the higher grades we've had. Even the Chiefs fan was like regular season C-.
Well, okay.
Like you guys went back to back.
That is a complacent Chiefs fan, though. That is.
No, I know.
They have the luxury of being able to go, oh yeah, we won a Super Bowl, but I'm gonna give us a C- for the regular season. Like, okay.
And I think it's tough to I guess my grade is more so based on the expectations and where we
Right.
were projected and where we ended up. I
Mhm.
mean, when you're a first round exit from the playoffs, it's tough, but I think everything else, there's a lot of intangibles that gave me that higher grade.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's so many variables that go into these past season grading scales that we do. Like whenever we were talking to our Cowboys correspondent, she had said C- for the year. And yeah,
Mhm.
we had the first round exit too, but the expectations were we were supposed to do a lot better, which I feel like that's every year we think that. But
It's the Cowboys.
yeah, pain always. But I will say you had mentioned the Super Bowl hangover, and I think I loved just how aggressive y'all were though to get Stafford and to stack that team. And honestly, if you got to sell your soul for a season or two to win a Super Bowl and then you're bad the next year, who cares? You still won the Super Bowl. So I appreciated the strategy on it, and I'm curious if they're it looks like they're ramping up to make that same push here too. And we'll get into some free agency stuff here in a minute, but. Do you think that Matthew Stafford has the capability to win another Super Bowl? I know that he's starting to kind of get up there in age, but do you think that he's still able to win it all again?
If you asked me at the end of 2022, I might have said no, but after this past season, there were really only a few quarterbacks that threw the ball better and more consistently. I think for him, it's absolutely possible. It's just going to come down to staying healthy, as well as our O-line. I think there's a huge opportunity to make some enhancements with the O-line. Would love to be able to see Stafford maneuver around the pocket and escape defenders again. And that isn't something we've seen in a while. But I think he's definitely could take us there. There's just some other factors coming into play.
So do you view him as top 10 then as far as quarterbacks?
I do. I might be biased and it's a competitive field, but when I look at what he did in Detroit and what he did year one in LA, for me, that really solidifies it. There's so many bright spots with him, his arm strength, his accuracy, and he really is super, super tough. But one thing that really stands out about Stafford to me is just the rapport that he builds with his receivers. It's almost like he has a sixth sense out there, which is really cool and has served him well with his relationships with Cup and Puka. So I'd say so. What do you guys think?
So I think it's hard because I think that there's a couple of quarterbacks between 7 to 12 that you can just make arguments for all day. So I definitely have him in that range. I'd put him up there with, the Kirk Cousins of the world, Dak Prescott, guys who I think that he has more arm talent definitely than Dak. I don't know about Kirk because Kirk can sling, but if anyone in the league could probably get close to Kirk just as far as just pure arm, it'd probably be him, and then obviously Aaron Rodgers, but that's a totally different thing whenever he is healthy. So, but no, I'm not knocking you for the top 10. I definitely think that there's an argument for it, especially having a Super Bowl under your belt. I think that does kind of automatically raise you up in the conversation a little bit too. So I respect it.
Yeah, I feel like that 7 through 12 is very interchangeable, just like what you said. But I remember an article came out in the beginning of last season where Stafford did an interview or whatever. He's like, we have so many new guys. I don't even remember their names. He's like, they'll say hi to me in the locker room. I'm like, sup?
That's funny.
But
whatever
he did worked.
I know when that first came out, I was a little you're the quarterback of the team, you're a leader. But obviously he turned it around and those younger guys had great seasons and it all worked out. And I loved just the story of him and Cooper Kupp and how much time they spent together in 2021, gearing up for the season, and it paid off. So
yeah. Jordan touched on a little bit about you kind of selling your soul for a Super Bowl ring.
Hey, it worked though.
It does work. It does work. The Patriots did it, and it just lasted a lot longer than people expected. Would you repeat the process of the last 5-10 years and trade away every single pick you own, not have one for the next 5 years to try to win another Super Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go back and change what we did. It was an amazing run in 2021, but there were some times on that trajectory where I questioned Les Snead and what direction we were going, but it all came into fruition. Looking ahead, though, I'm honestly just really excited to see what's in store. The last time we had a first round pick was when we got Goff, so it's been a minute, and I'm excited to see what's in store. So we've gotten really good talent in the later rounds, like Puka. So thinking about what we've been able to do with him, like imagine what we could do with an earlier pick. So I'll be interested to see what direction it goes. I wouldn't be surprised if Snead makes some free agency deals to get some veteran talent. But I personally am really excited for the draft and to maybe get some big names for the season. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Puka, and he had an absolutely incredible rookie season, historic, truly. Who's going to be wide receiver 1 next year, though? Is it going to be him or Cup? I just,
it's a good question.
Any insight? Have you heard anything from the inside? I don't know if you have any journalists that you follow or anything like that on Twitter or something, but any insight on that by chance?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know a ton. We haven't had a draft pick in so many years. I haven't been as used to following stuff closely here in the off season, but I do think it's going to be Cup, and that doesn't discredit like Puka's historical rookie season. I think they're going to be a really dynamic duo. And I'm even really excited for Tutu Atwell. And like he was so fun to watch at the end of last season. So I'd love to see more from him this year. So I think Cup will be wide receiver 1, but I think they're going to really be a strong force. And I'm excited to see if like Puka can have another amazing season and just continue to build on everything from last year and like the amazing record he set.
Yeah, right. Nukua's rookie year was unbelievable. But what I would like to see with the Rams wide receivers, honestly, not in just the way they set up, not in an actual like wide receiver 1, but have Cup as your 1, Atwell as your 2, and Nakua as your 3 in the slot. Because getting Nakua to run around pre-snap, he was so deadly last year.
Yeah, I mean he's just such an athletic specimen, honestly, that he's big, he's fast, he's strong. Like if you're on the defense and you're seeing him just constantly move from side to side, you're just thinking to yourself, well, shit, who's gonna get lined up with him? Oh gosh, they're trying to find a mismatch, hunting the mismatch and everything. So no, I think that the way that they utilized him was really good, especially with the amount of motion that they used last year. So what would you say was your favorite moment of the season last year? Was it the record-breaking performance? Was it something else?
Yeah, I mean, looking back at last year, it was definitely when Puka broke that record and, officially had the most receiving yards by a rookie in NFL history. That was super cool. And against the Niners, it made it even better. So that was pretty great. It is hard to top the NFC Championship, LA versus San Francisco, because that, I know feels like it was just yesterday, back in 2021. But I got to be there for that game, and
oh, nice.
The Niners have like had our number for so long, and to go into that game and win when it really mattered was really, really cool. So I've definitely been like chasing that feeling again. But Puka breaking the record was definitely one of my highlights from this past year.
So we're going to put you on your high of highs, and we'll go straight to your lows of lows. What was the worst moment, or the one you just wanted to smash your TV?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely Super Bowl 53. I mean, that was rough for non-Ram fans to watch as well. Just a not great performance, a boring game. Losing to the Patriots is the worst. Watching Brady get another ring was not my favorite. And I think what made it so challenging to watch and so frustrating was just the end of the day, didn't look like the team was prepared. And it's tough to witness that on such a big stage. So was excited that we bounced back fast and made it happen in 2021. But that was a rough day for Rams fans.
I'm sure. So what was the, I guess, worst moment, though, of this past season for y'all?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. I'd say maybe I think it was tough to watch Stafford have to go back to Detroit like in the playoff environment, because I think his return would have been so different elsewhere, and like the stakes were so high. And I get it. Like, I don't think Detroit should have done anything different, but if it wasn't the playoffs, it would have been a much warmer welcome. So it was a fun game and it ended up being a really good game. And I really was excited that we made the playoffs, but that didn't really sit well with me and was like tough to watch as a fan, because you look at somebody that did so much for the franchise and the city to come back, and it's the playoffs. Business is business, but I think it would have looked a little different if he had returned for a regular season game. So that was kind of tricky too.
Yeah, there's definitely some animosity there. We recently interviewed a Lions fan a couple days ago, and he was talking about just like the hurt that he felt, and especially it really, added insult to injury that the first year after he leaves, he goes and wins a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And it was just like, of course he did. And so, yeah, Lions fans were not particularly happy about it. And I know that there's definitely some scarring there for them, unfortunately.
I get it. And I look at Jared Goff, who, I want him to be successful in Detroit too. And if we weren't playing him first round, I would have cheered for the Lions every bit of the way. But business is business. Playoffs are playoffs. And there's a new guy in town that wants to lead this team to the Super Bowl. So it was just an interesting dynamic.
Oh, for sure. So moving now to the back to the offseason, I'm talking about free agents. What were your favorite free agency moves? We have them actually pulled up. Y'all made some good moves this free agency, but I'm curious what your favorite one was.
Well, I'd have to say my favorite was getting Jimmy Garoppolo.
Jimmy G,
because he's like my celebrity crush. So that was a good one. But yeah, I'm going to be interested to see like what comes out of all of this. I mean, we definitely are going to miss some of our guys that have gone to other teams, but yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, so the two that really stuck out to me that I'm like, those are great pickups. I'm sorry, it's not Jimmy G. Tre'Davious White and Darius Williams. I think that tandem in the backfield for y'all is going to be great. They are. What was it? I believe that Williams had 4 interceptions last year. Yeah, 4 interceptions last year. And then Tre'Davious White's just a real lockdown type of dude. And you guys got them on pretty good deals too. You didn't have to give up an arm and a leg to be able to get them. So I'm excited to see them. It also looks like you are beefing up your offensive line a little bit. You got Jonah Jackson, you got Kevin Dotson. So it looks like you guys are definitely trending in the right direction as far as the personnel that you're trying to bring onto the team, which is good. Was there anyone in free agency that you were like, man, I really hope we get him, and that y'all didn't, that maybe there were like rumors for it or something?
Yeah, I think most recently just hearing about like Mike Evans being in talks with McVay would have been pretty cool. I mean, feel pretty good about where we're at from a receiver perspective, but he's just a great player.
Yeah,
you can never have too many dogs.
You can get Mike Evans, so my.
Obviously was so pumped about Jonah Jackson. And then we even got to keep like Troy Reader, who I think is a great player. So I was excited to see him stay. But yeah, overall, I'll just be interested to see what we do with these new names and how everything comes together and who we pick up in the draft.
Oh, well, that's a great segue. Danny, you want to ask about that?
Let's talk about the draft. But before we ask about what pick you would like to make, did you guys see, once again, beginning of last year, after the draft, the Rams did this little video about their computer software that they have that helps them draft?
No,
they're like one of the only teams to do it. And they're like, it graded Nakua as like a 7th round pick or something like that. And they took him in the 5th. And they've been using it for the past like 3 years. And like for all the late round picks they've hit. So who would you like the computer or yourself to draft round 1, pick 19 for your first round pick in like ever?
30 years. Yeah.
Yes, I would be really excited about Jared Verse, the edge rusher from Florida State. So, we're going to need somebody to come in and be a strong interior player. I don't think anybody's going to replace Donald, but I think that'd be a step in the right direction. Or Byron Murphy from Texas could be a good addition as well. So we'll see.
Hopefully the Bengals take Murphy one pick ahead of you, but that's just me talking.
It always comes back to the Bengals.
It has to. It's like the 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
My God. What do you think are, I guess, your biggest positions of need besides, edge? What do you think are the holes that you guys need to fill the most with the draft?
Yeah, I'd say O-line. It's got to be O-line. So as Stafford's getting older and closer to retirement, we also need to think through who our next QB will be. Obviously not the focus for this year necessarily, but looking at such an exciting QB draft class, it's going to be interesting to see how that all unfolds, and who will be maybe there in a few years if Stafford does retire. But I really hope that we focus on trying to beef up the defensive line and replacing Donald, and then same with the O-line since we've had a little movement there.
Yeah. Do you? I know that you mentioned edge as well, but how are you feeling about maybe getting like an outside linebacker or something like that? Someone who can still rush, but also can fall back if need be, and kind of be more of a captain through that side of the defense too.
Yeah, I think that would be a great addition. I mean, we'll just need like strong leaders to kind of step up in Donald's absence. So I think that'd be a good example there. Maybe a good place to get like a veteran player.
Well, I was seeing from Mel Kiper, he is predicting that y'all are going to pick up Latu from where is he from again? UCLA. And I mean, he was an animal. I think that he would fit really well in y'all's system. He kind of has that Micah Parsons vibe to him a little bit too. So, not saying that, but if you could get him to be that'd be very helpful for y'all.
Yeah, that'd be great. And it's always fun to see the guys with LA roots, whether they went to USC or UCLA or like grew up in LA, that come play for the Rams. It's always a fun storyline. So that'd be a really good addition.
Anytime you can be the hometown kid, playing for the hometown team, it's always good.
Absolutely.
This draft class has a very deep edge and defensive line.
Honestly, this draft is just deep, period. There's just, because whenever we first started talking about the draft on this pod, we were like, oh yeah, they're deep at wide receiver. And it's like, well, they're deep
at
everywhere.
Quarterback, offensive
line, I'd say
back.
Quarterback is probably one of the lesser positions.
It could be really good or really bad.
I'm just interested to see where everybody's going to land.
Yeah.
I just want to know where JJ McCarthy's going. I just want to know who took the flyer.
It's going to be Minnesota or Denver.
Oh gosh. Minnesota.
Minnesota. He's used to the cold, right?
Sure.
But all right. Before we get way too off track, what's your team's least needed positional upgrade? You kind of mentioned Stafford a little bit.
I feel pretty secure at receiver. I think we've got talent there. We've got depth there. So I'm excited to see Cooper, Puka, and Tutu and what they do next year. At the same time, there's the draft. There's a lot of offensive talent as well. And so maybe if somebody like Brian Thomas Jr. is available at wide receiver, wouldn't be the worst pickup. So I wouldn't hate it.
Is getting up there.
Yeah. So I wouldn't hate maybe getting a little more depth there and, seeing if he'd be a good fit, but we'll see what happens. I feel pretty good at wide receiver, but he was so much fun to watch on LSU. So
no, yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. And then last question for you here. If you were to, I guess, take anyone from any previous team, you can just pluck them off the roster. It could be from like the 90s or whenever else. What one player would you just like to pick off of that roster and drop them onto the current roster that y'all have?
That's a good question. I mean, I'd say names like Marshall Faulk, Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce, all amazing players from the greatest show on turf. It'd be fun to see them today with this team.
Yeah.
Another funny one is, growing up, I really have always loved Kurt Warner. He's one of my favorite Rams, but he was playing as a Cardinal, like for most of my memory. So it would have been fun to be able to really see him in his heyday as a Ram, and then gotta have love for the icons like Jack Youngblood and Eric Dickerson. So they're some of my favorites too.
Fair enough.
If you could just pluck one of your old running backs into your new offense, oof, that'd be terrifying.
Yeah, it would be. Well, perfect. Thank you, Riley, for hanging out with us. Before we let you go, do you want to plug any of your social media, tell people where they can find you, all that fun stuff?
Sure. Just at Riley Christiansen on Instagram, and I'm definitely excited to tune in and listen to some of the other fandoms come and share their perspective. So thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, thank you. All right, everyone. That has been Riley Christiansen hanging out with us, our LA Rams correspondent. That's the end of the show as well. So we're just going to go and kick it to the outro. Thanks, everybody, for listening.
Peace.
Well, I like school, and I like football, and I'm gonna keep doing them both because they make me feel good.